All right, so this is how we format our images for class. We go to Image in the menu, go down to Image Size, and you need your image for print resolution to be 300. Now this one's only 72, and maybe you just opened yours and it's only 72. Don't panic. If you notice, the width and height is huge. It's 57 by almost 43. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell Photoshop, rearrange the info that's in there. Don't create new info, just rearrange what's in there. So make sure, this is so important, make sure resample is not checked. So make sure it's unchecked, and I'm going to type in 300. Now what's going to happen is the image is going to get smaller because instead of 72 pixels an inch, it's crowding in 300 and it's not creating more, so the image has to get smaller. So I'll type in 300. Now if you forget and leave resample checked, you're going to have Photoshop creating information to fill in the resolution, and you don't want that because your image will get pixely, it won't look good. You almost never want to make an image bigger. There are cases to make it smaller, and in that case you check resample. But for this, uncheck resample, type in 300 for the resolution. If your image is already 300 for the resolution, you're good to go. All right, so now go to your layers. If they're not up, you go to Window, Layers to bring them up. And in the bottom of your layers, you see this circle that is half black and half white. So you're going to have to either use levels or curves on yours. We'll go with levels first. So levels is simpler than curves. And what you have right now is this is your histogram representing what's in your image. And you have, this represents black, this represents middle gray, this represents white. And it's a spectrum from black to white on the image. So I'm going to, I can see there, I can just move this one over. There isn't really any information right here, so I'm going to move it over, and if you look, it darkened it up a little bit. If you want to lighten your image, you can move this one over a little. Don't do it extreme, don't make it look like that. You can move it over a little to the left. If you want your image darker, move it over a little to the right. Now notice here that there's these eyedroppers, and you can use these for color correction. The problem is you need to have, in your image, you need to have something that should be neutral gray. So when I look at this, I think this spot in the street should be neutral gray. So I'll click, and yeah, it's not really changing it a ton. So the color balance is probably not too off. Now, if I were to use the white and click on here, it would just blast it out too much, and we don't want that. So this image looks pretty sad, sack, and kind of gray. We've done some levels on it. I'm going to move this over a little more. It still doesn't look great, and to be honest, it's not the most amazing image. The sky wasn't great, the light wasn't great. But, you know, we doctored it up a little, we'll doctor it up some more. So now, let's go ahead and try the curves instead of the levels. So if we go back to the circle, and we say curves, now I'm going to turn the levels off down here. And notice we still have the same eyedroppers. So if something's supposed to be middle gray, I can click on it with the eyedropper. But we have this line, so what does this do? Well, I'm going to show you. First off, right down here, it goes from black to white. You're adjusting the lightness and darkness in the image, so this represents black. I'll move it over a tiny bit because I know there isn't much black. But you also have this right here, this little finger. And I can use this to say, I'll click right here on the windows, and it puts a point on this line. And that point will let you adjust the lightness or balance right on that area. So I'm going to move it up a little. I don't want to overdo it. The sky is pretty dark, or pretty light, so I want to make it darker, so I'll click up here. And I get a point, and I can pull that down. So you want to be careful. You don't want to overdo it. So let me see. Let's take a look at, there's what I got with curves, and here's what I got with levels. So curves gives you more control. So I'm going to stick with curves. So I'll just select the levels, hit the garbage can, hit it again. I want to get rid of those levels. Oh, it's making me okay. There we go. Yes. Okay. Now I'm going to make a burn and dodge layer. And what you do is you go into your layers, and by the garbage can is the plus, and you hold the option down in the Mac or the alt down on the PC and you click it, and then you change the blend mode to overlay and name the layer dodge and burn. And we're going to fill it with neutral 50% gray, neutral color, and hit OK. So it just fills it with gray, and because it's overlay and the way overlay works, nothing changes. Now we want to use this layer to paint in darker than neutral gray and lighter than neutral gray to add darkness and lightness. So first off, let me click on let me go to my toolbar, double click neutral gray. Let's see, 97, 97, 97. That's more neutral gray. Yeah, it's not quite neutral gray either. All right. I'm going to move it up a little. So neutral gray is right in the middle here. I'm going to move it up some. And I'll hit OK. And then you want to choose a brush, B for brush. B on your keyboard. And it'll choose the brushes. You always want to make sure that when you look at the brushes up here, it's one of these that have this soft fuzzy edge, because a photographic edge is a soft edge. So I want my brush to be bigger, so the left and right brackets will make it bigger on the fly. Let me see. So I can lighten up the leader drugs a little bit. I think I'll lighten up these windows a little bit. It might be too much. I might be overdoing it. I can't tell. It looks all right. And now I'll grab a darker color. And let me hit the sky. Now the thing is, where it's white here, no matter what I do, I'm not going to get anything because it's blown out. There's no information. There's nothing there. There's nothing to retrieve in the photo. But, you know, I can bring some of the other colors back in the sky. Let me see how dark I can go. So I'm making the brush darker. So where there is nothing, you can't really fix the image if it's overexposed. All right. I also think like there's too much road. Whew, that's too dark. I wanted to darken the road, so the emphasis is more on the drugstore. Let's see, make this bigger. Okay. So if you look at the dodge and burn layers, you can see where there's the regular gray, the darker gray, the lighter gray. And let's see, have we made our image look a little better, a little more interesting. Like I said, it's not the best image to start with, but it's good for showing how to do stuff, and that's what I'm using it for. I wonder if I can lighten this leader drugs anymore. Ooh, I think I can. Yeah, that looks a little better. Okay, so the last layer we have to do on all of them is the sharpen layer. So we need to take this image and we need to make a stamp of it. And the stamp is just, it takes all the corrections you've done, combines them, and makes a copy. And the way you do that is on the Mac, it's Command Shift Option E for elephant, Command Option Shift E for elephant, or on the PC, it's Control Alt Shift E for elephant. All right, so what we're going to do is we've made that copy, and let me put this down. So if I turn these off, you can see, that's a copy of all of this. Now we're going to go Filter in the menu at the top, and we're going to go all the way at the bottom to Other, and then slide over to High Pass. Now you want to be able to see the edges of things, but what you don't want to start seeing is these green colors around stuff. So let me pull this down a little more. You want to see the edges because you want to sharpen the edges with this. Don't go above 10. I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm going to change the blend mode up here from normal to overlay. And now let me see if we can see, hopefully you can see right here. You can see it's definitely sharper. Now it's a little bit too much, so we're going to go to the layers and the opacity, and we're going to pull it down some. Yeah, it still looks sharper, so that's good. All right, so all your layers are all your images are going to have this done to them. In addition, one will be made black and white. And the easiest way to do that for this next assignment is to go down here into the adjustment layers, which is the circle that's half black and half white, and click and drag down to black and white. And boom, it changes it to black and white. Well, why are there all these colors here? What the colors do is you can change the reds to lighter or darker. So I know Leader Drugs is red. So if I move it that way, and the building too has a lot of red, it gets very black. And if I move it the other way, that doesn't look right. Don't do that. I'm going to move it and make it a little darker. Let me see. No, there's a little bit of yellow. So you want to keep an eye on the photo and make sure you don't make it look weird and unrealistic. Let's see. Now we will go over some other ways to make things black and white. Oh, so I just made my sky look really weird, and we don't want that. I think I'll just leave the cyan as is. There's no help in my sky. Let's try the green. And again, generally you don't want to go all the way over. Okay, that looks not too bad. So for one of them, you're going to make it black and white, and you can use the black and white adjustment layer for this assignment. We'll go over some other ways to do it and make it look kind of more interesting or dramatic.